You know, in reading this investigation and just reading the details, I literally almost became physically ill just from reading it. And then I had to think about what the victims went through in terms of what they went through when this was going on, and then having to recount it, not just to you, but to authorities as well. And you point out this is really, when it comes to Andrew Tate, you've documented it now, right? There are allegations of grooming, coercion, rape, trafficking, all kinds of abuse, and so much of it out there for anyone to see in plain sight. You know, this is ultimately a story about Andrew Tate, or is it really the institutions that have failed to stop him? Because, as I said, I was floored by everything you uncovered.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. I think in a lot of ways, this is a story about impunity and about how the Tate brothers have managed to, you know, after spending so many years systematically exploiting women and bragging about the way in which they've systematically exploited women to their many followers, are now managing to evade justice for those actions and to leverage their political connections, particularly on the right wing in America, to get away with it. And that was partly what, excuse me, that was partly what prompted me to begin investigating this. Was that, you know, last year in February, shortly after Donald Trump's re-election, Andrew Tate and Tristan Tate were freed from all travel restrictions in Romania, where they faced very serious rape and human trafficking charges, and were allowed to travel the world freely. And since then have been proclaiming their innocence and declaring that the case against them is totally defunct and going nowhere. And that happened after the US applied pressure on Romania, and the prosecutors lifted those restrictions under a significant amount of pressure from the US. And so I really wanted to see what had the brothers done, and to dig as much as I possibly could into the evidence that I could find to document their actions over the past 10 years, and to try to give that context to people who are just hearing the brothers constantly declaring that there's no evidence at all.
And yet you point out that the Hertfordshire investigation in the UK is just one of many disturbing parts here. In 2014 and 2015, think about how long ago that was. 3 women, Hannah Price, Maya Navarro, and Amelia Walker, they went to British police alleging rape and strangulation by Andrew Tate. Now, he was arrested, but then ultimately the case collapsed. Prosecutors declined charges again in 2019. You know, where do you see it if police and prosecutors had properly investigated those early allegations, understanding where we are then as well in the Me Too development? Is it possible here that Andrew Tate never becomes the global figure that he is now?
Yeah, I think that's a really important question. I think there's a strong case to make that if those 3 women had been taken seriously and properly listened to a decade ago, that Andrew Tate could have faced justice, could have been held accountable, and that perhaps other women would not have suffered in the way that they have in the years since then. And it's shocking the way in which that investigation was handled. You know, you had 3 women who all went to the police and made very similar allegations that they had been assaulted, raped, strangled by Andrew Tate. And that investigation was left to gather dust for 4 years. Almost nothing was done about it. The police left Andrew Tate's phone lying around the station and didn't download it properly, which meant important evidence became effectively unusable. And meanwhile, Andrew Tate, by his own admission, skipped the country and moved to Romania, a jurisdiction where he himself has said he is freer to continue behaving towards women in the way that he wishes to behave without facing any action from the authorities. And so, yeah, that is a really shocking example of the way that a failure to take rape allegations seriously by the police can have very far-reaching consequences.
Yeah. In fact, he says it loudly and proudly. Just in the last few days, Andrew Tate was sitting on a golf course just outside of Moscow, I point out, giving an interview in which he dismissed Romanian prosecutors and compared Romania's justice system to Zambia's, and argued that if he had actually hurt anyone, he wouldn't be a free man today. Listen.
The Romanian state has the same level of judicial integrity as Zambia. So anything they say we can take with a large pinch of salt. Yeah. Do I know women? Yes, I'm a full-grown man. Do I know men? Of course. Do I know people? Yes, I'm a famous man. I know people. But if I had ever hurt anybody, especially with how hard they've tried to put me in jail, I wouldn't be sitting here right now.
What strikes you about that?
Well, I think what strikes me about that is that Andrew Tate has been saying publicly for years that he moved to Romania specifically because it is a more lenient jurisdiction when it comes to crimes against women. And he's openly said Romania is a corrupt country and I can use that corruption to my own advantage, and that's why I want to be here. He's declared for years that he's above the law in Romania. I think it took him very much by surprise when the Romanian authorities did bring this human trafficking case against him. But now, of course, he's turning that argument on its head and saying it's a corrupt country and shouldn't be taken seriously. The fact is that there's a rape and human trafficking investigation into both the Tate brothers in the United Kingdom as well. They are wanted on 21 combined counts of rape and human trafficking in Britain. And they are not being extradited at the moment from Romania because a Romanian court has ruled they can't be until the Romanian prosecution has run its course. Now, I obtained private messages in which the Tate brothers said to each other and to their advisors that they were effectively being protected by Romania from having to go and face justice in Britain. And so I think Andrew Tate sort of plays the system the way it suits him at any given time. But I think there are very, very serious allegations for him to answer in multiple jurisdictions.